Hello everyone, it's Tracy at For the Love of Stamping and welcome back to my craft room. Today I have for you this fancy fold triangle card that opens up on the angles like so. It's an easy card to make. It's not a new design, but it is new to me and I thought I would share it with you today. So let's get started. Here's what you're going to need. You're going to need to start off with some real red cardstock, and this is the 8.5 by 11. Now we're going to use our paper trimmer. We're going to score it 4 1/4, 5 1/2, and then we're going to cut on the diagonal. So you'll end up with 2 pieces. Okay, so you'll be able to make two different cards. Then you're going to need some black cardstock. It measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. A piece of Whisper White, which we'll layer on top, and these are your inside pieces. So this is 4 by 5 1/2. You'll need another piece of black cardstock, again measuring 4 1/8 by 5 3/4, of which you're going to then cut on the diagonal to give yourself the 2 pieces that are going to layer on the front of your card. Then you'll have some designer series paper. You're going to cut 2 pieces, different pieces. One is going to be 4 by 5 1/4, as well as the other one. Now I've chosen to use the black with the white writing for this piece, and then the one with the paw prints. And you'll notice that this here is the opposite of what I initially had done. So like I said, you get 2 cards out of 1. You will need a piece of Whisper White cardstock to cut out a Tasteful Labels die. You're going to stamp on it with the Happiest of Birthday stamp set. That will layer on your card. You're going to use the designer series paper, again, the Playful Pets, and you're going to cut out 3 of the dogs. This one I've used the stitched, or the dies, the Pets dies, and that's these here. So you can see that the dies have 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 1 paw print. And this one here, as well as this one, will cut out the shapes from the designer series paper. You're also going to need to fussy cut the little wiener dog and of course one of the little terrier dogs. Now you can see here that I've only cut out really close around his head and up to his shoulders, and then the rest of it I'm not too fussed about because I'm going to tuck that right in behind the label and you're not going to see it. So don't waste your time cutting pieces that you don't need to. We're going to top off the card with a couple of little banners that are coming from the Stitched Triangle dies. There are 19 dies in this set, and this is a great set to have. It really rounds out our series of stitched circles, stitched squares, stitched rectangles, the Sweetly Stitched, which is the scalloped edged, and now we've got the triangles. And I know there's the isosceles triangle and the right angle triangle, but the rest of them I'm not familiar with, so we won't worry about that. And then finally, when you're done your card, you're going to add some of the red rhinestones on it just to finish it off, and of course give it a little bit of glimmer. All right, let's get started. I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial on how I cut the cardstock. I've already mentioned what I did with it, but I'll just bring in my paper trimmer, and I'm not going to actually run it through here now because I've already got one cut for you, but I want to show you how I've lined it up. So you're going to line up your cardstock, of course, like I said, you're going to line it up so that you can trim it, or sorry, score it at 4 1/4 here, and then at 5 1/2, which is right here. And then you will put it back into your paper trimmer, and I'll turn the trimmer this way to make it a little easier for you to see. And you'll line up the points of the cardstock into the grooves of the paper trimmer, and then you're going to cut from one to the other. Now with this paper trimmer, it only goes so far, and I just ended up using my scissors to cut the rest of it. And when you're done all of your cutting and scoring, you end up with 2 pieces, and this is just one of them. And you can see that I already have all of the scoring lines folded so that when I put my card together, it'll just fold down like so. So now the one thing you need to be cautious of is, depending on the direction of your designer series paper, you need to make sure that you've got your card folded the way in which everything will be facing in the right way. Now if I were to do it this way, obviously it wouldn't work. So I have to play with this until I get it to go the right way. It's not going to go that way, so we'll fold it back the other way. And there we are. We can see that this one will layer here, and everybody's going to be going in the right direction, and that one will go there. So let's take these 2 pieces that I've pre-cut and adhere them onto the black cardstock. I think it looks nice with the black cardstock. I find that by adding it, if you don't have it, it seems to be missing something. So by adding the layer behind it, which is only, you know, a sliver bigger, that it actually makes it sort of jump out onto the front of the card a little bit more. So I'll use some Tombow to adhere these together so that I can wiggle it around till I get it in place. And it, you know, it's a shame that we end up cutting this paper because there's such cute designs on the other side. But you know what? I'm on my second pack already. So I'm sure there'll be more that I end up buying. So put some of the Tombow glue onto the back of the designer series paper. I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to adhere it onto the black cardstock. And then now that I'm using the Tombow, I get to move it around so that I can just have that sliver of the edge appearing behind the designer series paper, like so. All right, so we'll get that right in place there. And I'll set that aside so that it dries. Now I'm not gonna rub it around because that will shift things around, but if I put my hand down on it, it'll help to adhere that glue down so that it doesn't shift the card now that I've managed to get it nicely positioned onto the black cardstock. I'll repeat that now using the other piece of designer series paper. And again, look at the cute little dog dishes on the back. I think this is probably one of my favorites that I've ever had from Stampin' Up! In terms of cardstock for, you know, really cute shapes and images. We've had so many different kinds, but this one just kind of takes the cake. All right, so again, lining this one up so that it gets right onto the edge there. I just see a little sliver of the black, and I'll press it down till it stays in place, like so. Okay, let's just set those aside for the time being, and we'll come in with this here. This is just the inside of the card, so we can assemble this pretty quickly just by putting some adhesive on the back. Again, I'm going to use my Tombow. Like so. All right. And again, this has only been cut 1/8 of an inch larger, the black. So I want to make sure that I am able to move that around and get it positioned so that I have just the little edges showing. And again, I like to just hold it down so that it doesn't move now that I've got it in position. Okay, great. And I can now adhere that to the inside of the card. I'm always going to double check to make sure I've got everything going the right way, because last thing I want to do is put everything on upside down, which I have done before. And then you have to rip it all apart and start over, and that's not fun. So more Tombow on the back of the black. Connect the dots and adhere it to the inside of my card. Okay, see, this is going together very quickly. Now I have pre-cut a lot of the stuff just to save some time. I think it's best to do it that way, and then you're not left watching me cut stuff. So I'm just going to give those a little extra press, and now I'm going to layer these on the front. Okay. I'm going to open it up so that it's flat, and I will adhere this down and move it so that I can just see the red. You can see I didn't leave myself a lot of playroom here, but just enough. And I'll repeat that with this one. Okay, like that. And let's put this one the right way so we know that it's going to fold down like that. Let's put this guy right here. All right, good. Comes. All right, so that finishes the front of the card. I'm going to set that aside to dry. Let me just press that a little bit more. I see it's lifting on me here. Okay. All right, so these pieces here, we've got the banners and the greeting. When you're putting this together, let me bring in the card sample here to show you. I'm going to ask you to close the card up, and you're going to want to play with this a little bit because you want to make sure that you leave yourself enough space to put this gray dog so that it doesn't hang over the edge. So you want to give yourself, you know, you want to make sure that it's going to fit there. And knowing that the envelopes are just a little bit bigger, we do have enough space in here, so I can leave his tail off just a little bit. And all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to just put adhesive behind this part, the paws of the dog, and adhere it to this. I don't want to stick it anywhere else just yet. So let's grab some adhesive and then put a little bit onto the back side of the cardstock, and just again using it as a gauge to see where I can place the dog. I'm just going to actually move this one in, give myself even more of an idea, and then you'll see we'll just put our pup right there, and we'll just place them. I'll move that out of the way so that I don't get glue on it, like that. All right. The next dog is our little terrier, and he's just going to tuck right in behind here so that he's peeking out from behind the greeting. And that one, again, I'll just use some Tombow on the dog. Flip this over. I'm going to place him down, and I'll do that. Now, that gives me an opportunity just to make sure that my greeting is straight and my dog's not like totally sideways. I want them relatively straight, not on a lean. Okay, so there we go. All right, so to adhere this down onto the front of the card, we're going to use dimensionals, and I'm just going to press that a little bit more, and I moved it a tiny bit. So let's flip him back over, make sure that he's still, you know, relatively straight, and grab some dimensionals. Now, here's the trick. You don't want to put dimensionals all over the back side of this, because then if you do, it's going to stick everything down, and that won't be good. What you want to do is make sure that you are just putting dimensionals in this section of it, because that's the piece that I'm going to adhere to the front of this triangle. So it's kind of like down the middle of the A and down the R. So I'll flip it over, and I'm going to put some dimensionals starting. I'm going to put one on the back of the head of the dog for starters. I know that I'm safe with one here and one probably about there. And before I go too much farther, I'm going to bring it back in, make sure that when I open this up, we don't have any dimensional showing here. Okay, so that's kind of my marker. I know that's where I don't want to go past. So I'll put another one here and maybe another one right here. I like to make it pop up enough so that it doesn't, so that it looks, you know, raised, and that way, when I adhere to the front, it's going to be lifted on this side. Okay, so I think I'm safe to go ahead and place, or to remove the backing of the dimensionals. So we'll just get rid of these guys. And then I can adhere this to the front. Sometimes those little backing like to stick to your fingers. All right, line it up on your grid paper. Make sure that, you know, your card is straight. Come back in and place your greeting and with your dogs right onto the front like so. Now, when you open this up, if you find that that's kind of droopy a little bit, you can always come back in and tuck in another dimensional, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab the dimensional, get the backing off of it. And then I'll just use something that I can hold this with without my big fingers in the way. And lift it up and tuck one right into there. Okay. And if I wanted, I could do one more right there. So I'll do the same. Take the backing off. Easier said than done. There we go. And pick it up with my paper piercer. Again, lift it up and tuck it in. There. Now you can see it's more stable, which is what I was looking for. We'll put our little wiener dog down here, and I know I'm probably upsetting some people when I call it a wiener dog, but it's a dachshund. Let's get the dog names straight, although wiener dog is kind of cute. I'll now put some dimensionals on the back of him, and I'll pop him up onto the front of the card. Again, I'm adding 3 on here because I want to have it, I want them to be even. I don't want them to sag in the middle or be off, you know. It just makes it look better when it's placed with more dimensionals. And I'm just going to place my little dachshund right here. And I did fussy cut this one, and as I said, I fussy cut him. Okay, now I'm just going to add some 3 little rhinestones here and my little banners here, and then our card is done. So let's grab the banners first. I tend to want to play with these a little bit because, you know, depending on how far up you've put your dog, you're going to have to measure out where you can put your banners without sticking the banner on top of the dog's head. So I'm kind of okay with that. So I'm going to adhere this one directly down here, and I will only adhere, you know, the first 4 of these little flags because I don't want it to stick my card closed. Okay, so let's turn this over, grab our Tombow, and put some dots of Tombow on the back, like so. And then we'll pick this one up and put them onto the front of our card. Right in like so. Okay. Hold that down until the Tombow sticks. And then this guy will come right in like that. I didn't quite get enough Tombow, so I'm just going to give it an extra second here just to hold it down because it tends to want to lift up if I don't give it an extra press. Okay, so we'll flip this one over and remember which direction you're going. So it's these 4 here. I'm just going to put the Tombow right onto the back. Like so. And then we'll grab that and we'll just layer it right over top. And we'll hold it down. And then the last bit is our little rhinestones. Love these little rhinestones. This this stamp set, I should say this bundle is so cute. You get the in the bundle, you'll get the stamp set and the dies. If you go with the suite, you end up getting also some paper, the paper as well as some additional accessories. There's some ribbon that comes with it. It's just the greatest little bundle and suite. So it is selling very quickly. People are really, really liking it. I've seen so many cards made with this that you know, this is selling out fast. So you might want to consider getting yours before it's too late. So here's the 2 cards, you know, made with the 1 piece of real red cardstock, the piece of designer series paper, and you can see, I mean, I don't know which one I prefer, but I do like them both regardless. And hopefully you've enjoyed this little technique, and I hope to see you soon again in my craft room. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.